So, Congressman, I'm sure a lot of people are listening, nodding their heads and saying, all right, I like what I hear, but let's put some meat on that bone. Let's actually get down to brass tacks. When you think about a political precedent, Congressman, is there a model of success that Sam can look like in previous electoral contests in recent American political history and say that's the model, that's the type of approach that will be successful, that we think is the way forward for the future?
Yeah, great question, Ferdinand. Look, we're not naive. We realize this is a moonshot, right? This is going to take us years to do this, and so we're taking it on in a few ways. We're building infrastructure. There is no infrastructure really for the very broad independent movement that often brings together people of competing ideologies. There's just not the donor base organized around that and the infrastructure. So we have to build out the operations. That happens behind the curtain. What you're seeing on the streets is, as Monty was talking, a lot of local races, right? A lot of these politics get changed by focusing in on local city council mayoral races. But then we also need some high profile wins, right? We've got to run some statewide candidates, some federal candidates that are viable. And if you go back to that Perot analogy, it can be done, but we need the moment to meet us halfway. I think the 22 cycle is a cycle where the moment might meet independent politics halfway.
Well, you talk about the 22 cycle, and Congressman Jolly, you know me to be someone that's very direct, and I don't shy away from a difficult question. So speaking of recruiting some of those candidates, there's talk that there is a candidate that might be looking at the governor's race in the state of Florida, my home state, coincidentally your home state, and coincidentally that candidate is one David Jolly. So not to put you on the spot, Congressman, but are you going to be running as a Sam candidate for governor in Florida in 2022?
And look, there is a very good chance I will be a Sam candidate running for governor in the state of Florida in 2022. Yes. We are beginning to build out infrastructure and look at making a decision as a candidate, my wife and I, by the end of this calendar year. But alongside, Sam is building party infrastructure in the state of Florida. Whether David Jolly runs for governor, whether he runs for another office, or whether he doesn't run at all, the Sam party in Florida is coming, and we are building infrastructure. I will make an independent decision, my wife and I will, about whether or not we're going to be a candidate. But to your point on that question, Ferdinand, as we run local candidates, we're looking at very high profile candidates to run on the Sam ticket in Texas, in Florida, in Virginia, in New York, in Connecticut, and in Iowa.
Just a quick follow-up, Congressman. A state like Florida, the current governor is seen by a lot of folks as basically a mini-me Donald Trump. And I think a lot of Democrats and independents who would like to see a change in government would say, I love David Jolly. Why can't he compete in a Democratic primary? Or worse, David Jolly's popular enough that he might just actually get enough votes to assure the reelection of a Ron DeSantis. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, look, I would say on behalf of 40% of Floridians who identify as independent voters, why should I be forced to associate with a major party just to be viable to serve the state in elected office? I think that's what we're trying to break, right? Now, let's hit the spoiler argument head on in the state of Florida for the governor's race. First of all, we know since January 6th, thousands upon thousands of Republicans are leaving the party and they're looking for a new home. Sam's a perfect home for those people. Democrats might also decide, I don't want to go the Andrew Gillum direction or the AOC direction. Perhaps I want more of a consensus, or perhaps I'm a progressive who just likes the Sam appeal. What I would say to my Republican friends is, if you think I'm a spoiler, then you shouldn't have a problem with it because your guy's the incumbent. And to my Democratic friends who say I'm a spoiler, I would say to my Democratic friends in Florida, you haven't won the governor's mansion in 28 years. So if you want to come in second again, I suppose I might be a spoiler to a runner-up race, but I don't believe the Florida Democratic Party is in the place to change direction in Tallahassee. Perhaps what we need to do is create a coalition between independents, progressives, and some conservatives to finally change direction in Tallahassee.